The arrival of the inevitable, the massive alien warship, the dread sovereign, emerged from hyperspace with a roar of gravitational waves, its imposing silhouette blotting out entire constellations in the view of Earth's night sky. Encased in a dark alloy that absorbed light like a black hole, the vessel was a harbinger of conquest, the spearhead of the Galactic Empire's fleet. For centuries, it had cruised the galaxy, subjugating worlds without contest. Humanity, as far as the Empire was concerned, would be no different. Inside the grand command deck of the ship, Lord Calthar sat upon his throne-like command seat. His presence radiated dominance, his silver-scaled armor gleaming faintly under the bioluminescent lights. Calthar's eyes, a fiery orange, scanned the holographic display of Earth. His expression was one of mild boredom. Another primitive planet to crush, another flag to plant. "Report," Calthar commanded, his voice resonating with authority. A subordinate, an insectoid officer with twitching antennae, bowed low. "My lord, initial scans reveal rudimentary defenses, primitive satellites, orbital stations, and basic planetary shielding. Their technology is approximately 300 cycles behind ours." Calthar allowed a small smile. "Good. Send the standard ultimatum." The insectoid officer tapped commands into the console. Moments later, a transmission was sent to Earth. Encoded in a universal language built on mathematics, the message was clear: submit to the Empire or face annihilation. On Earth, the message was received in seconds. In a secure command center buried deep beneath Geneva, the United Earth Defense Council convened. The room buzzed with tension, officers and diplomats exchanging uneasy glances. At the center of it all stood Admiral Eleanor Kane, a woman of sharp intellect and unwavering resolve. Her steel-gray hair and piercing blue eyes marked her as a veteran of countless battles. As the ultimatum scrolled across the holographic display, the room fell silent. Kane tapped her fingers thoughtfully against the table. "This isn't a first contact. It's an invasion." Dr. Rajiv Patel, a leading xenolinguist, adjusted his glasses nervously. "Their technology far surpasses ours. They expect us to capitulate without resistance." Kane's lips curled into a wry smile. "They don't know us, then." Before anyone could respond, Kane stood and activated the communication console. Her voice, steady and calm, cut through the tense atmosphere. "Open a channel. Let's respond." A moment later, Calthar's hologram materialized in the center of the room. Towering and alien, he exuded an air of supreme confidence. His sharp features and glowing eyes seemed to pierce through the humans like a predator sizing up its prey. "I am Lord Calthar of the Galactic Empire," he began, his tone dripping with disdain. "Your species is to submit to imperial rule. Resistance is futile. This is your only warning." Admiral Kane folded her arms and tilted her head slightly, her expression one of calculated defiance. "Lord Calthar, this is Admiral Eleanor Kane of the United Earth Defense Force. We've received your ultimatum. Before you proceed, there's something you should know." Calthar's eyes narrowed. "Speak quickly, human." With a subtle nod, Kane signaled her team. The holographic display in the room shifted, showing a timeline of Earth's military history. The Battle of Thermopylae, the Crusades, the World Wars, and countless other conflicts played out in rapid succession. "Your empire fights wars to expand its borders," Kane said, her voice unwavering. "Humanity fights wars for survival. We've spent our entire existence battling enemies more fearsome than you could imagine. Each other, nature, even the limits of our own understanding." The hologram froze on an image of Earth during the Cold War. Calthar's eyes flicked to the mushroom cloud blooming on the screen. "Nuclear weapons?" he asked, his tone tinged with amusement. "Primitive." Kane allowed herself a faint smile. "Primitive, yes, but effective. And we've moved far beyond that. You've scanned our planet and dismissed us as inferior. What you fail to understand is that humans innovate best under pressure. And right now, Lord Calthar, you're providing the perfect pressure. Calthar leaned forward slightly, his confidence waning as an inkling of doubt began to creep into his mind. Are you suggesting that your primitive species is prepared to resist the might of the Empire? Kane stepped closer to the hologram, her gaze unflinching. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you that if you proceed, you won't be conquering a world. You'll be starting a war with a species that has never stopped fighting to survive. Consider this your only warning. Turn back, or learn firsthand what it means to face humanity. For the first time in centuries, Calthar felt a twinge of uncertainty. His scaled hand clenched into a fist. Bold words, Admiral. Let's see if your actions live up to them. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the room in silence. Kane turned to her team. Prepare all defenses, and get me a direct line to Mars Command. If they want to fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. Above Earth, the dread sovereign loomed like an omen of destruction. But as Calthar stared out the viewport, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had underestimated his prey. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he felt the faintest whisper of fear. The first strike. High above Earth, the dread sovereign repositioned itself, its shadow eclipsing the International Orbital Station. The Galactic Empire had faced primitive planets before, planets whose inhabitants cowered in fear. But Earth's response had been different. Humans had issued a warning, one that lingered in Lord Calthar's mind like a venomous echo. On the bridge of the Imperial warship, the air was thick with tension. Calthar stood at the center, his sharp features illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays. He watched as Earth's orbital stations scrambled their defenses, deploying small fleets of craft that looked pitiful compared to the Empire's sleek destroyers. Yet something about their movements felt calculated, deliberate. Commander Vec, status report, Calthar ordered. The insectoid officer saluted, his mandibles clicking nervously. My lord, the humans are fortifying their orbital positions and launching their first wave of ships. Scans indicate a mix of fighter class and prototype vessels. Technologically inferior, but... Calthar raised a hand. Enough. Begin the assault. Let them taste the Empire's firepower. The bridge crew moved with precision, activating weapon systems that hummed with lethal energy. Massive ion cannons swiveled into position, targeting Earth's orbital defenses. With a single command, a volley of plasma bursts streaked through space, annihilating 2 human satellites in an instant. Yet, instead of retreating or panicking, the human fleet moved in. The smaller ships, no match for the Empire's warships, executed maneuvers that defied logic, narrow barrel rolls, sharp dives, and synchronized attacks that exploited microseconds of opportunity. Unusual tactics, Commander Vec muttered, his compound eyes studying the battlefield. They fight as if they'd done this before. Calthar frowned. He had seen such precision in seasoned Imperial fleets, not in species as young as humanity. Increase the assault. Crush their resistance before it emboldens them. On Earth, Admiral Eleanor Kane observed the battle unfold from the Geneva Command Center. Her hands rested firmly on the console as data poured in, showing the losses and gains of their first skirmish. Her team worked tirelessly, coordinating the defense effort with Mars Command and Luna Base. They've taken out 2 orbital stations, one officer reported grimly. Their firepower is overwhelming. And yet, Kane replied, her voice steady, our pilots are holding the line. Tell them to initiate Phase 2. In orbit, Captain Elias Chen, the squadron leader of the Valiant Wing, received the order. His sleek fighter, outfitted with the latest human-engineered stealth tech, led a group of ships toward the underbelly of the Dread Sovereign. The Empire's larger vessels were built for direct confrontation, not for fending off small, agile attackers. Team, stick to the plan. Elias commanded over the comms. We're going for the disruptor cores. If we can disable even one, it'll buy us time. The Valiant Wing weaved through the Empire's laser fire, their small frames nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. As they approached the dread sovereign, Elias's fighter fired a concentrated EMP blast at a weak point in the ship's shielding. The energy field flickered, leaving a small gap. "Target acquired," Elias said, his voice calm despite the chaos. His wingmates followed suit, launching precision strikes at the exposed disruptor core. Explosions rippled along the ship's hull, causing it to shudder. On the dread sovereign, alarms blared as the impact resonated through the command deck. Kalthar gripped the armrests of his seat, his fiery orange eyes narrowing. "What just happened?" "Our disruptor core on the lower quadrant has been compromised, my lord," Commander Vec stammered. "The humans are targeting our weak points with remarkable accuracy." Kalthar slammed his fist against the console. "Impossible. How could they know our vulnerabilities?" As the ship's systems struggled to compensate for the damage, a new transmission came through. Admiral Kane's face appeared on the main display, her expression cool and composed. "Impressive ship you've got there, Kalthar," she said, her tone laced with sarcasm. "We've been watching your kind for years. Did you really think we'd sit idle while you conquered the galaxy?" Kalthar's jaw tightened. "You dare to mock the Empire? Your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and I may show mercy." Kane leaned closer to the camera, her eyes locked on his. "Mercy? That's rich, coming from a species that underestimates its opponents. You've made one critical mistake, Kalthar. You assumed that your size and strength would win this war, but humanity has survived worse than you. This is just another Tuesday for us." The transmission cut off, leaving Kalthar seething. His mind raced as he processed her words. These humans were different. They weren't panicking or fleeing. They were fighting back with ingenuity and audacity. As the battle raged on, Kalthar issued new orders. "Prepare the ground invasion. If their ships won't crumble, we'll take the fight to their soil." Commander Vec hesitated. "My lord, are you certain?" The humans seem unpredictable. Kalthar's eyes burned with determination. "They are an annoyance, nothing more. Crush their spirit. Show them the true power of the Empire." But deep in his core, a nagging doubt lingered. Humanity's defiance had revealed something the Empire hadn't encountered before. An enemy that fought not for conquest, but for survival. An enemy that refused to bow. As the first wave of landing craft descended toward Earth, Kalthar couldn't shake the feeling that this primitive species was far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The ground awakens. The Empire's landing crafts broke through Earth's atmosphere like meteors, their engines roaring as they streaked toward the planet's surface. Their metallic hulls glinted under the sunlight, each one bristling with advanced weaponry and carrying squads of elite soldiers. To the Galactic Empire, this ground invasion was routine, a crushing blow meant to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority. To humanity, it was something else entirely, a call to arms. On the outskirts of New Berlin, one of the Empire's primary landing sites, a sea of dust and fire erupted as the massive crafts touched down. Imperial soldiers poured out in perfectly synchronized formation, their dark exosuits gleaming with alien alloys. Towering mech units followed, each step sending tremors through the ground. Their presence screamed dominance, their movements mechanical yet precise. But the city wasn't empty. Hidden within its urban sprawl, humanity's defenders had been preparing. Every street was fortified, every building reinforced, and every citizen ready. This wasn't the first time Earth had faced annihilation, though it was the first time from an alien force. The lessons of countless human wars had left them uniquely qualified to respond. At the heart of the city's command bunker, Major Sofia Alvarez stood before a digital map displaying the enemy's landing zones. Her sharp brown eyes scanned the data, her mind racing to coordinate the defense. She was a decorated soldier, hardened by years of conflict during Earth's turbulent unification wars. Yet this fight was unlike any she had faced before. "Status," Sophia barked. Lieutenant Chris Harlow, a tactical specialist, gestured to the screen. "They're deploying mech units and infantry squads. They've spread thin to secure the area. leaving their landing crafts lightly guarded. Sophia's lips curled into a fierce grin. They think we'll engage their soldiers head-on. They don't know us. Initiate Operation Sandstorm. Above the city, a series of unmanned drones activated, swarming the sky like locusts. These weren't simple surveillance tools. They were precision-engineered weapons, outfitted with EMP generators and micro-explosives. Within moments, the drones descended on the Imperial forces, their small size and speed making them nearly impossible to target. On the ground, the alien soldiers hesitated as the first wave of drones detonated. Explosions rippled through their ranks, disabling exosuits and rendering their weapons useless. The massive mech units, seemingly indestructible, froze as their systems were overwhelmed by EMP blasts. Kelfar, monitoring the invasion from the Dread Sovereign, clenched his fists as the live feeds showed his soldiers in disarray. "What is happening?" he roared. Commander Vek's mandibles twitched nervously. "My lord, their drones are exploiting gaps in our anti-air protocols. We didn't anticipate such." Adaptability. Kelfar's eyes burned with frustration. Adaptability. They're primitives. They shouldn't have technology capable of disrupting Imperial systems. But the reality before him was undeniable. Humanity wasn't just resisting. They were dismantling the Empire's strategies piece by piece. On the ground, Major Alvarez led her troops into action. Using the chaos created by the drones, human infantry units advanced through the rubble, their movements swift and calculated. Unlike the Imperial soldiers, who relied on centralized commands, the human squads operated with decentralized coordination, a tactic honed through centuries of asymmetric warfare. "Focus on their supply lines," Sophia ordered over the comms. "Cut off their landing crafts from reinforcements. We don't need to beat them outright. We just need to make them bleed." As the battle intensified, the Imperial forces began to regroup, their superior training and firepower allowing them to regain some control. But every advance they made was met with a new human tactic. In one sector, hidden mines obliterated entire platoons. In another, sniper teams harassed high-ranking officers, spreading confusion among the ranks. Meanwhile, humanity's most advanced weaponry made its debut. The Manticore-class exosuits, human-engineered combat suits powered by adaptive AI, emerged from hidden bunkers. Each suit was a marvel of human ingenuity, combining raw firepower with unmatched agility. Pilots inside the suits engaged the alien mech units directly, their energy blades slicing through the Empire's steel behemoths. In the thick of the battle, Sophia watched as one of her soldiers, Private Aaron Park, maneuvered her exosuit into a devastating charge against a damaged mech unit. Sparks flew as the energy blade tore through alien armor, the mech collapsing in a heap. "Nice work, Park," Sophia said over the comms. "Keep the pressure on." At the same time, another Imperial craft attempted to land outside the city. This time, it was met by a surprise barrage of artillery fire from concealed positions in the nearby hills. The human artillery, guided by advanced targeting systems, shredded the landing craft before it could deploy its soldiers. Kelfar's frustration boiled over as he observed the battlefield. "This is chaos," he spat. "How are they countering us so effectively?" Commander Vek hesitated before replying. "My lord, it appears they've studied our tactics extensively. Their ability to adapt and innovate in real time is unprecedented." Kelfar's fiery eyes narrowed. "Enough excuses. Deploy the Vorthan bombers. If their cities are their strength, we'll turn them into ashes." Back on Earth, Sophia received the news of the incoming bombers. Her expression hardened. "So they want to play dirty? Fine. Activate the Horizon Net." The Horizon Net was a last-resort planetary defense system, a network of high-altitude satellites equipped with particle cannons. As the Vorthan bombers entered the atmosphere, beams of concentrated energy lanced down from the sky, incinerating the ships before they could release their payloads. The destruction of the bombers sent a ripple of shock through the Imperial ranks. On the Dread Sovereign, Kelfar stood in stunned silence as he watched the devastation. For the first time in his career, he faced an opponent that wasn't just surviving, but winning. On the ground, Sophia surveyed the battlefield, her voice calm but resolute. They thought we'd roll over. They thought they'd overwhelm us. They forgot one thing. Lieutenant Harlow glanced at her. "And what's that, ma'am?" Sophia's eyes gleamed with determination. Humanity doesn't lose. We adapt. And now, they're about to find out what that really means. The counterstrike. The smoldering remains of Imperial landing crafts littered Earth's surface, their twisted metal a testament to humanity's ferocity. From the shattered streets of New Berlin to the distant hills of Santiago, the battle raged on, but the tide had begun to shift. The Galactic Empire, for the first time in centuries, was losing ground. Deep within the dread sovereign, Lord Calfar's composure cracked under the weight of relentless reports. His once proud posture now bore the tension of frustration and doubt. "Explain this madness," he growled, his fiery eyes fixed on the tactical display. Commander Vec, nervously clicking his mandibles, hesitated. "My lord, their tactics are unorthodox. They exploit every gap, every oversight. It's as if they're improvising strategies faster than we can adapt." Calfar slammed his fist against the console. "Improvising. This is no accident. These primitives are orchestrating a coordinated defense we've never seen before." He turned toward his officers. "Prepare the Star Cleaver. If they want chaos, we'll give them destruction on a planetary scale." The Star Cleaver was the Empire's most devastating weapon, a planetary-scale energy pulse designed to level entire continents. It had been used sparingly in the past, reserved for breaking the will of the most defiant civilizations. But Calfar's pride demanded it now. In Geneva's command bunker, Admiral Elimer Kane received the news with grim resolve. The incoming Star Cleaver wasn't just a weapon. It was a declaration of desperation. She stood before the holographic display, the faint hum of the machinery underscoring the gravity of the situation. "They're going for total annihilation," Kane said, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "They're losing control." Dr. Rajiv Patel, the team's lead physicist, stepped forward. "Admiral, the Star Cleaver operates by harnessing energy from the surrounding environment. If we can disrupt its charging process, we might stand a chance." Kane's eyes narrowed. "How?" Rajiv hesitated before answering. "Theoretically, with a simultaneous strike on its energy relays, we could overload the system, but it would require precision and courage. The strike teams will be in extreme danger." Kane turned to the room. "Then we find the best we got. This is our planet. If we don't fight for it, no one will." In orbit, Captain Elias Chen of the Valiant Wing received the assignment with grim determination. His squad had already endured heavy losses, but they were the best hope humanity had to stop the Star Cleaver. Their mission was simple in theory: breach the dread sovereign, sabotage the weapon's energy core, and escape. "All right, team," Elias said, addressing his squad over the comms. "This is it. No backup, no second chances. We take out that weapon, or we don't come back. For Earth." A chorus of affirmations echoed through the comms as the Valiant Wing launched from its hidden base. The sleek, stealth-coated fighters zipped through the chaos of orbital combat, dodging enemy fire with the precision of seasoned pilots. The massive form of the dread sovereign loomed ahead, its weapon ports glowing ominously as the Star Cleaver charged. The squad weaved through the ship's defenses, using their size and agility to avoid the Empire's lumbering warcraft. As they approached the hull, Elias activated his fighters' grappling claws, locking onto the dread sovereign. One by one, the team disembarked, their exosuits magnetizing to the surface of the alien ship. "Keep it tight," Elias said as they moved toward the energy core. The surface of the dread sovereign was alive with pulsating energy conduits, their alien design both beautiful and ominous. Inside the ship, Calfar monitored the progress of his weapon. "The Star Cleaver is at 72% charge," Commander Vec reported. It will be ready in less than 15 minutes. Good, Calthar replied. Prepare to target their major population centers. Let them witness the price of defiance. Unbeknownst to him, the humans had already infiltrated his ship. Elias's team breached an auxiliary airlock, their suits' adaptive systems masking their presence from the ship's sensors. Inside, the corridors were vast and alien, their walls glowing with faint bioluminescence. Eyes open, Elias whispered, leading his team toward the energy core. Along the way, they planted timed explosives on key structural supports. If we fail, these charges will at least weaken their ship. As they approached the energy core, the air grew thick with heat and radiation. The room was massive, its centerpiece a pulsing orb of raw energy suspended within a swirling vortex of alien machinery. Rajiv wasn't kidding, one of the team members muttered. That thing could level half the planet. Focus, Elias said. We have a job to do. The team split into pairs, each targeting a specific relay. With precision and care, they began sabotaging the systems. But as the first relay exploded, alarms blared throughout the ship. Looks like the party started, Elias said, readying his weapon. Defensive positions. Imperial soldiers poured into the room, their dark armor gleaming under the harsh light of the energy core. The humans fought with a ferocity that belied their smaller numbers, using every ounce of their training and ingenuity to hold the line. Above the chaos, Calthar's voice boomed over the ship's intercom. You dare defile my vessel. You will die here, humans. Elias smirked. Bold words for someone about to lose their big toy. With a final push, the team disabled the last relay. The energy core sputtered and dimmed, the star cleaver falling silent. Elias activated the comms. Mission accomplished. Time to go. The team fought their way back to their fighters, explosions rippling through the ship as the planted charges detonated. As they launched back into space, the dread Sovereign shuddered under the strain of the damage. The once imposing warship now resembled a wounded beast, its pride shattered. On Earth, cheers erupted in the command center as the news came through. Kane allowed herself a rare smile. They thought they'd break us. Instead, we showed them what it means to be human. Back aboard the dread Sovereign, Calthar seethed in silence. His ship was crippled, his forces scattered, and his most powerful weapon destroyed. Yet deep in his heart, he knew the fight was far from over. Prepare the fleet, he said coldly. If they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The turning point. The dread Sovereign limped through Earth's orbit, its once immaculate hull scared and smoking. For the first time in centuries, an Imperial warship, one of the Galactic Empire's crown jewels, had been brought to its knees. Humanity had delivered a blow that echoed far beyond the battlefield, one that shook the Empire's unshakable confidence. Inside the Geneva Command Center, Admiral Eleanor Kane leaned over the holographic table, her sharp eyes scanning the latest intel. The battle was far from over, but a glimmer of hope now sparked across the faces of her team. We've taken out their star cleaver, crippled their flagship, and forced their ground forces to retreat, Lieutenant Chris Harlow reported. For the first time, we've got the upper hand. Kane's expression remained stoic. Upper hand or not, they'll retaliate. The Empire doesn't accept failure. What's our status on Project Valkyrie? Dr. Rajiv Patel, who had been quietly monitoring the situation, stepped forward. The weapon's final phase is nearly complete. If we deploy it, we can force them into full retreat, or worse. Kane nodded, her voice calm but firm. Prepare it. If they want to escalate, we'll show them just how far humanity is willing to go. Aboard the dread Sovereign, Lord Calthar stood amidst the chaos of the damaged command deck. Sparks flew from shattered consoles, and the once pristine bridge now bore the scars of the human's unexpected resilience. His fiery eyes burned with anger, but beneath that anger simmered an unspoken fear. Status, he barked. Commander Vec, his exosuit battered but functional, approached cautiously. My lord, the fleet has sustained significant losses. The humans' unconventional tactics continue to outpace our adaptations. Their planet's defenses are more advanced than anticipated. Kalfar's claws scraped against the railing as he spoke through gritted teeth. Excuses will not repair this failure. Contact the fleet. We're initiating full planetary bombardment. No more games. Vec hesitated, his antennae twitching nervously. My lord, I must advise caution. The humans have demonstrated a level of unpredictability we've never faced. Their technology. Kalfar cut him off with a glare. Are you suggesting we retreat? No, my lord, Vec replied quickly. But this species fights with an intelligence and ferocity unlike any other. A full bombardment could provoke retaliation beyond our calculations. Kalfar's voice dropped to a dangerous growl. Retaliation from primitives. Let them try. On Earth, the skies darkened as the Empire's fleet began its bombardment preparations. Civilians watched in horror as the massive warships positioned themselves, their weapons glowing with destructive energy. Across the planet, alarms blared, warning of the impending strike. In the midst of the chaos, Major Sofia Alvarez coordinated evacuation efforts from the ruins of New Berlin. Her team moved with urgency, guiding civilians into underground shelters while keeping an eye on the skies. Move, move, she shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. We've got incoming fire in less than 10 minutes. Her comms buzzed with a familiar voice. It was Admiral Kane. Alvarez, what's the status on your end? Evacuations are underway, Sophia replied, wiping sweat from her brow. But if they start shelling, we'll lose more lives than we can protect. Understood, Kane said. Hold your position. Project Valkyrie will buy us the time we need. Sophia frowned. You're really going through with it? We don't have a choice, Kane replied grimly. Stay safe, Major. At Luna Base, humanity's last-ditch weapon, Project Valkyrie, came online. A massive particle cannon, larger than any terrestrial weapon, hummed with raw power. Engineers scrambled to complete the final checks, their faces pale but determined. Valkyrie is ready, the lead engineer announced. Target locked on the Dread Sovereign. Admiral Kane's voice echoed through the base's comms. Fire on my command. As the Imperial fleet charged its weapons, Kalfar stood at the center of his shattered bridge, watching Earth through the viewport. He imagined the planet's cities burning, its people scattering like insects. This would be his victory, one earned through fire and destruction. But as he prepared to give the final order, a brilliant beam of light pierced the darkness of space. The Dread Sovereign shuddered violently as the beam struck its aft engines, disabling the ship's propulsion and sending it spiraling off course. What was that? Kalfar roared, his claws digging into the console. Vec stumbled forward, his voice shaking. My lord, it's the humans. They've deployed a weapon capable of striking us from their moon. Kalfar's fiery eyes widened. Impossible. How could they? Before he could finish, another blast rocked the ship, this time targeting its primary weapons array. Sparks flew as critical systems failed, leaving the Dread Sovereign vulnerable. On Earth, cheers erupted in command centers as the Valkyrie cannon struck its target. Admiral Kane allowed herself a small smile, though her focus never wavered. Good work, Luna Base. Keep firing until that ship is completely neutralized. In orbit, the remaining Imperial fleet hesitated, their confidence shaken. They had never seen the Dread Sovereign, a symbol of the Empire's invincibility, brought so low. Panic rippled through their ranks as human forces capitalized on the chaos, launching coordinated strikes against vulnerable ships. Kalfar, now seated in his private chamber, stared at the holographic displays showing the extent of the damage. His pride had been his undoing. These humans weren't primitives. They were warriors, innovators, and survivors, and they had turned the tide of the battle. Commander Vec, Kalfar said quietly, his voice heavy with resignation. Order a retreat. My lord? Vec asked, Stunned. "You heard me," Kalfar snapped. "Pull the fleet back. This planet, it's not worth the cost." As the Empire's ships began to withdraw, a final message from Admiral Kane was broadcast across the system. "To Lord Kalfar and the Galactic Empire, let this be a lesson. Humanity may be young, but we are not weak. If you return, you'll find us stronger, smarter, and more prepared than ever. This is our home. We will protect it." Kalfar stared at the transmission, his claws gripping the console tightly. For the first time in his long career, he understood defeat. But more than that, he understood fear. A galaxy forever changed. The Galactic Empire's fleet retreated, their colossal ships limping through the void, their hulls bearing the scars of a battle they never anticipated losing. From Earth's surface, humanity watched the sky in awe and disbelief. For the first time in recorded history, they had faced an overwhelming alien power, and won. Yet victory was not celebrated with cheers alone. It was tempered with the weight of what lay ahead. In the Geneva Command Center, Admiral Eleanor Kane sat at the head of the war table, her sharp eyes surveying her exhausted team. The holographic display still flickered with images of the battered Imperial fleet retreating beyond the moon's shadow. The room was silent, save for the faint hum of machinery. This wasn't just a moment of triumph, it was a moment of reckoning. "We've bought ourselves time," Kane began, her voice measured. "But let's not delude ourselves. The Empire won't forget this." Dr. Rajiv Patel, rubbing his tired eyes, nodded. "They'll regroup. Their pride alone will demand retaliation. And next time, they won't underestimate us." Kane turned to Major Sofia Alvarez, who had joined the meeting via video feed from New Berlin. The city still smoldered in the background, but the Major's resolve was unshaken. "Major, what's the status on ground operations?" "Evacuations are complete, Admiral," Sofia replied. "The remaining Imperial forces are surrendering or retreating. Civilians are shaken, but inspired. They're ready to fight if it comes to that." Kane allowed herself a faint smile. "Good, because this isn't the end. It's the beginning." On board the Dread Sovereign, silence reigned. Lord Kalfar stood alone in his private chamber, the once proud conqueror now a man grappling with his first taste of failure. The walls were adorned with holographic trophies of past victories, worlds he had crushed, civilizations he had bent to his will. Yet none of them carried the weight of Earth. Kalfar replayed Admiral Kane's final message on a loop, her words cutting deeper with each repetition. Humanity wasn't a species of warriors. They were something far more dangerous. Survivors. They had fought not for conquest or resources, but for their home. And they had done so with a ferocity that shook the very foundation of the Empire. "Vec," Kalfar called, his voice weary. The insectoid commander entered, his posture deferential yet tense. "My lord." "Send a report to the Imperial High Council," Kalfar said, his fiery eyes meeting Vec's. "Tell them, Earth is not to be underestimated. If they wish to continue this campaign, they must prepare for a war unlike any we fought before." Vec hesitated. "My lord, do you believe they'll listen?" Kalfar's jaw tightened. "The High Council believes in strength. They'll see this retreat as weakness, but they haven't seen what I've seen." His voice dropped to a near whisper. "They haven't faced humanity." Back on Earth, the global focus shifted from battle to rebuilding. Across continents, nations that had once been divided now worked side by side, united by the shared trauma of survival. Factories shifted production lines to focus on weapons and technology. Scientists pooled their knowledge to push the boundaries of human ingenuity. Earth was no longer just a planet, it was a fortress. At the forefront of this effort was Project Aegis, a coalition of Earth's greatest minds tasked with developing the next generation of planetary defenses. Admiral Kane oversaw its inception, her relentless drive pushing humanity to prepare for what she knew was inevitable. "Admiral," Rajiv Patel said during a briefing, "we're making progress, but we need more time to implement the advanced AI systems you requested. We're talking about building defenses that adapt in real time, systems that can predict and counter Imperial strategies before they even happen. Then make it happen, Kane replied without hesitation. The Empire won't give us a second chance. Months passed, and the scars of the invasion began to heal, though the memory of it lingered. For ordinary citizens, life resumed with a newfound unity and purpose. For those in power, vigilance became the mantra. Satellites scanned the edges of the solar system day and night, searching for the telltale signatures of hyperspace ruptures. Humanity was no longer caught unaware. Major Alvarez, now a global hero, led a task force to recover and reverse engineer the technology left behind by the Empire's retreating forces. Among the wreckage, her team discovered alien schematics, advanced materials, and encrypted data cores. Each discovery brought humanity closer to parity with their enemy, and perhaps even superiority. This, Alvarez said during a demonstration of a new propulsion system derived from Imperial tech, is how we win the next war. Not just by surviving, but by surpassing them. The Empire, meanwhile, struggled to contain the shockwaves of their defeat. On the capital world of Erythra Prime, whispers of rebellion stirred among subjugated species emboldened by humanity's defiance. If Earth could stand against the Empire, perhaps they could too. Kalfar's report reached the High Council, its contents sparking heated debate. Some called for an immediate second invasion to reassert dominance, while others urged caution, warning of the humans' unpredictability. The Council's decision would determine the future of the galaxy. For Kalfar, the answer was clear. He stood before the Council, his voice measured but firm. Earth is not a mere obstacle to be crushed. It is a proving ground. If we return unprepared, we won't just lose the war. We'll lose the Empire itself. Back on Earth, Kane stood on the observation deck of the new orbital station, Fortress Sol. Below her, the planet shimmered with life, its blue oceans and green continents a reminder of what they had fought to protect. Around her, humanity's first fleet of hybrid warships, fusing human ingenuity with alien technology, prepared for their maiden voyage. This isn't just about Earth anymore, Kane said to Sofia Alvarez, who stood beside her. The Empire opened Pandora's box when they came here. Now we're stepping into the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. And if they come back? Sofia asked. Kane's gaze hardened. Then they'll find a species that's not just ready to survive, but ready to win. As the hybrid fleet launched into the vast expanse of space, humanity took its first steps toward a future no longer dictated by fear. They were no longer the prey, no longer the underdogs. Earth was ready. The galaxy would never be the same.